Hi, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by SMS Law, going through the legal secrets that will benefit you and your clients, as well as having a little bit of fun as we go. This podcast is designed to educate you on, number one, complicated legal terms that we will explain in an easy to understand manner. Two, to understand why you do things from a legal perspective in your business. And three, to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Our mission is to help empower small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time that it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. This podcast is all about empowering you and your business with knowledge and tools to ensure that that doesn't happen to you or to your clients. Let's begin, shall we?
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Brisbane Professional Podcast. My name is Craig Mason. I have with me the other director at SMS Law, Jeremy Stratton. Say hello everyone, please, Jeremy.
Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day.
Indeed we are. So at the moment, the last few episodes of the podcast or the show, we've been talking about litigation and the costs and thinking about it commercially, etc. Today we wanted to talk about if you are faced with litigation, what you need to do to get sort of started on that. We've come up with 5 things that you need to get in place in order to start that litigation. So Jeremy, do you want to touch on the first thing that we've come up with?
Yeah, so the first thing for any sort of contract dispute is the actual contract or agreement. Now, a lot of people might say, well, I don't have a contract, but you will have a contract. Just because you don't have a written contract document, you might have emails that evidence an agreement. You might have a website that you've agreed, where you've agreed to things. You might have letters or faxes if you're that way inclined. Not many people have faxes anymore. You might have text messages. Any sort of communication, you might have a verbal agreement, so you might need to have evidence of what was agreed verbally. All those things can be agreements, and so you've got to have what actually constitutes your agreement so that your lawyer can actually work out what they're going to commence the litigation on. So making sure that you have your agreement in place is the first one. Craig, number 2.
Excellent. So number 2 is sort of flowing on from the agreement. You're going to have all sorts of other, potentially all sorts of other correspondence, file notes, emails, text messages, those sorts of things. After you've reached an agreement, perhaps about what's transacting between the parties. So you need to get all that together, put it into some form of order. If you listen to the last show, we were talking about making sure you've got a good filing system. So if you've got all your correspondence and file notes, etc., bundle those all up because you're going to potentially need those throughout the litigation process. So if you take that sort of step now to get them all together, that will definitely help, and the time to do it is now. And then you've got your agreement, and you've got all your correspondence and file notes, and that leads us on to the third one, Jeremy, that you need to do.
Yeah, so the third one is to seek advice about the best way to proceed. So there are many different options about the way that you can proceed with litigation. There's many different steps that you can take to start it. There's different things you can do. Get advice. Talk to a lawyer and make sure that you're doing the right process, because if you don't, then you probably do it wrong, or you may miss one of the options, and that can end up costing you a lot of money to fix later. So seeking advice about the best way to proceed, really, really important for any sort of litigation. Craig, number 4.
Yeah, number 4 is as part of that advice and sort of looking at the risks. You want to make sure you do some research and some searches into the other entities. So company search obviously is a big one, making sure they're still a registered company. There's no petitioning actions against that company. So they might have a winding up application, for instance, against them. Then that may change the way that you go forward in relation to litigation. They may have a number of other court matters on as well that also could change the way you think about the litigation, those sorts of things. So you just want to do all your searches, look into the directors, all those sorts of things to make sure you've got a full picture of the other entity, because there's no point going or proceeding against an entity that then ends up being wound up and you not receiving any money or not being able to continue your action. So important to do those searches at the beginning while you're seeking that advice, not at the end when it's all too late. So that's the searches. And then the last one, Jeremy, which is a pretty important one in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's to read everything. So when you engage a lawyer and you commence proceedings, they do what's called pleadings, and there's documents that are drafted, there's statements that are drafted, there's lots of material that is produced by the lawyer on your behalf. You have to read it. All too often, and we see this all the time, people go, oh, I'll just trust you to have done it right. There are nuances, there might be misunderstandings. Read everything it's absolutely crucial to making sure that it's done right, because no matter how good your relationship is with your lawyer or how good your lawyer is, that people make mistakes and people might miss something or might misunderstand something. So if you read it, then you're making sure that it's done correctly and that everything's stating your position as you see it. So Craig, there are our 5 things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Jeremy, for your input in today's show. It's important to follow those sorts of things before you go into litigation, as we've touched on. And that is it for us for today. Please, as a favour, rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you might have been receiving it. If you want to get in touch through Facebook, like us on Facebook. We do release some info through there. Follow us on Twitter. And search for us, Craig or Jeremy, on or both on LinkedIn. Cool. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.